Recording. Okay, here we are recording episode 25 of the Georgie and Patty Show. I am Georgie.
Oh, and I'm Patty.
We are here to share some awesomeness today. Tagline still in progress. I actually thought of something this morning, now I forgot it, so oh well. So today we're going to be talking about focus and control. Two very awesomely amazing words. Quote of the day that I have for you today is, whenever you want to achieve something, keep your eyes open, concentrate, and make sure you know exactly what it is you want. No one can hit their target with their eyes closed. And that is by the very amazing Paulo Coelho, who wrote the book The Alchemist, a book I love, and I think Patty loves too. And I think, you know, when we think about focus and the things we can control, especially in our business, I think it comes back to what I feel like I repeat like a broken record, but it's really knowing who you are and what you want and what really matters to you, and being able to, you know, get in that space of being still, being quiet, and really focusing on you, and kind of getting rid of all those other distraction and that noise, and knowing what are the most important things to you, and then being able to take all of that and put your energy and your focus into those areas. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's what Patty's going to be sharing with you today with the amazing slideshow that she created. And really that's what we talk about a lot, you know, with our clients. And I think anyone who is in the business where basically your service is transformation, and now that I'm on this warriors and mystics thing from that Earth Day talk, which I believe we all are, who are, you know, helping people create transformations in their life, it becomes really, really important for us to begin to really trust ourselves, because we're getting a lot of information from the outside that may not be relevant to us and may not resonate with us. So it's kind of that space to be able to embrace the misfit and the weirdos that we all are, and really step into that and do what works for us and put our energy there. So with that, take it away.
Oh, you're just going to have to chat for a minute or two, because PowerPoint's not working for me. So you can't get Facebook to work, and I can't get PowerPoint to work.
I get to keep talking. Excellent. Amazing. You know, I like the idea of being like mystics and warriors and magical and fun misfits. And I was talking to Patty yesterday about, I'm not sure there's a box that I actually fit in, because I can fit in lots of different boxes. So yeah, and I like that. I like doing lots of different things and being in lots of different boxes. I think for me that really works. Episode 25, right? 25, yeah. Variety is indeed the spice. Yeah, and I'm curious with the people that we have on our call, right? How many of you resonate with being sort of in that misfit kind of weirdo, which to me is normal, but you know, other people might see it like that. So, there, I see a screen. Woohoo!
Do you see my whole screen, or you just see the PowerPoint?
I see your whole screen right now.
Okay.
Absolutely misfitted. Woohoo! Yes, cats love boxes too. Yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay. That better?
That's much, 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 much better. I'm going to share I'll share an essay to our page about this guy, AJ Leon, who has a thing about misfits. And I totally love these essays he's written. So I'll put that on our resource page or our page or something like that. But now that we have slides, I will silence my mouth, and here we go.
I swear my computer is not working properly because my cat was sleeping on my keyboard last night. I was like, the Google searches he was running were ridiculous. Wasn't me. Who knows what he's posted on Facebook or what emails he sent out.
You see that in the chat? Mystic Mitfit sounds better than just weirdo. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I'm taking it. I am taking it. I'm getting a t-shirt made for that.
So Those are going to be, oh, dare I say, those are our target market.
Yes.
That
Those
we're
are
not going to
our
call it that.
future clients, our potential clients. Those are our humans.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Focus, people, focus.
Focus, people, focus. This is our topic for today. It's about focus and control and stuff like that. Your permission slip of the day is to ignore stuff that isn't helpful. That includes stuff that we say. But basically, focus, I believe that the ability to focus and to prioritize and to concentrate on what's important is kind of the must-have skill for succeeding in the environment that we are in today. The volume on this is turned up even louder because of this pandemic that we're in. But even, you know, before this happened in what was the old normal, we have a lot of stuff coming at us, a lot of incoming information plays for our attention, so many distractions, so much stuff that we could potentially be doing, and the ability to sift through that and to cull out the bits that are important to focus on is absolutely critical. And I think the people that can do this well are the ones that are best positioned to succeed. So a lot of what Georgie and I have been working on over the last few months is developing some clarity around that so that we can help our clients focus in on what will really start to move the goalposts for them, like, you know, to make some progress, because there's so many options, so many options, so many possibilities, so many opportunities. It can be kind of overwhelming. So here's the thing about focus, and if you want a book to read on this, Essentialism. Actually, I borrowed this diagram from them. If you look at the circle as being the energy that you have, you can put it out in a zillion different directions, and you can kind of inch along a millimeter by a millimeter. You know, not really seeing a lot of progress in any one direction because your energy is so diffused. This is the kind of running back and forth between tasks. This is when we talk about multitasking, trying to do multiple things at once. What you're really doing is you're dropping one thing to focus on for a few minutes, then picking up something else. And there's a lot of energy cost in actually switching tasks from one thing to another. And if you have a list of goals and objectives in your business, things that you want to accomplish, and that list is got multiple projects, and if you really broke down how long each one would take, you might be looking at a year or 3 years worth of work, yet you're trying to execute all of them at once and kind of switching from one thing to the next. It can start to feel like you're not making any progress, and that would be because you're not really making any progress. Instead, how would things change for you if instead of spending your energy in a multiple number of directions in your business, that you focused on one thing and gave it your all, gave it all your attention, gave it all your time, gave it all your energy? How quickly could you move a single objective forward? I really think that the ability to choose what that thing is and to focus on it without getting distracted is the key to success right now. So that's a question for you to consider when you look at your to-do list. And this is basically what we're talking about today. This is what life looks like. We have a ton of stuff that we are doing, could be doing, might feel we should do. Other people are telling us that we should do it. We're all juggling a lot of stuff, a lot of time, a lot of distractions. Could be a lot of stress right now. It was hard enough to do the work before, but now in a different environment with a whole level of whole layer of stress on top of it, not a fun place to be in. And we talked in one of the previous episodes about this idea of we have a jar of time, and we all have the same amount of it, and it's limited. We have that 24 hours a day. We have 365 and a quarter days a year. That's our allotment. And you get to choose what goes into your jar of time. You get to choose what you're going to focus on and what's going to get your attention. And if you were to look at this as the jar is your time and rocks are the things that you want to do, you've got big rocks, important things that require a fair amount of time and energy, the big projects, the things that really move you forward, and you got a gazillion million little tiny things that can eat away at your attention and nag at you for your time. And the key to managing your time well is to put the big rocks in the jar first and then fit the smaller tasks in around it. To expand on that idea today, and I learned this, by the way, from Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, life-changing book. What he proposes in the same book is what's called an Eisenhower matrix, and it's basically dividing up what it is that you're doing into 4 quadrants and rating each one of those things on your to-do list as either it's urgent or it's not urgent. Things that are urgent need to happen now. They've got a deadline to them. There's an expectation around getting it done. There's some pressure. And then there's some things that are not urgent. There are things on your list that you can procrastinate on. You can put them lower in terms of the urgency of getting them done. People might not notice, but that's the not urgent category. And then from there, to divide those tasks again into what's important and what's not important. And when you look at dividing these things into these categories, you end up with things on the important and urgent list are things like completing projects, meeting with clients, showing up for meetings. They're really time bound. You've got an appointment, you need to show up for it. You've got work that you promised by a certain date, you need to get that done. The work is important, the urgency is real. And those things are great. You've got some things that are important, but they're not urgent. This is the category to really focus on, because these are things that we tend to procrastinate on. This is, developing plans and strategies, executing projects for your business or your marketing that will make your business better, help your business grow. This is self-care kind of stuff. Important and not urgent are, the things about looking after yourself, eating well, getting exercise, those sorts of things. Making longer term plans, learning new skills that are necessary fits under that important but not urgent. And often we procrastinate on this stuff, but we really should bump this up higher. This is a big rock. Then we have the things on the list that are not important. And some of those things are urgent. And often the urgent, not important, is other people wanting our attention. This is email. It's notifications on your phone. It's every time it beeps and it buzzes and the little red circle tells you that there's something that you need to check on. Social media is engineered to appear urgent and important, but it is often not important at all. So that is a kind of low-hanging fruit in terms of eliminating things from your calendar, is to remove those urgent but not important things. And it might be as simple as turning off the notifications on your phone so it doesn't beep at you all day long. And then you've got things that are not important, not urgent, which some of that social media stuff might be. But this is what we typically look at as time-wasting things. We were talking about Netflix earlier. There is a distinction, though, to be drawn between not important, not urgent, totally a distraction, binging Netflix in the middle of the workday, perhaps, versus kind of rest and relaxation, which is actually important to recharge. And you can draw that distinction for yourself of what that looks like. And sometimes just to go back to the urgent and not important category, that might mean setting some boundaries with people, setting some expectations on how quickly you'll respond to emails, for example, that kind of stuff. So taking a look at where you're spending your time and dividing it into these quadrants can make it easier for you to select what are those big rocks that need to go into your schedule first, where do you need to focus, and what are the things that you can move right off your list and free up some time. Now, this might not be the easiest task in the world to do because you might not know what all of these things are, in which case try tracking your time for a week. Create a nice spreadsheet, and with the days of the week across the top and the times down the left hand column, and just write down what are you doing every half hour of your day for a week. And then you can look at it and you can analyze it. You can go, okay, what on this calendar is urgent and important? What's urgent and not important? What's important and not urgent? Is it even on there? And where did I waste my time entirely? This can give you some really good information for making better decisions about how you focus your time. And if you take a close look at this, you can also analyze this for the 80-20 rule. What's the 20% of the things that I did on my calendar that got me 80% of the results? We often recommend this in terms of marketing. It's like, what's the 20% of your marketing activities that gives you 80% of your results? Focus on that. This is the diagram that prompted this entire presentation, because we were talking about this, about being in the age of distraction and what's within your control and what's not. Also from Stephen Covey, is if we look at our interests in the world, if we look at what concerns us with our time and with our life and where we're at, we have a whole area of concern, stuff that we're paying attention to kind of in general. We're concerned about this sort of stuff. A smaller circle within this is the things that we actually have some influence over. There's a lot of stuff we're concerned about that we have no influence over, like global policy, like a coronavirus, like all sorts of stuff that's happening in the world, things that other people are doing that didn't ask for our opinion on it. There's a whole lot of stuff in that area of concern that we don't even have any influence over, or we have a limited amount of influence over. And then in the center, we've got this small amount of things that we have direct control over. And the key here is to recognize what's drawing your attention so that you can make good decisions about how you respond. So you can let go of things that are in your area of concern, but completely outside of your control, or even your influence. Or you can decide, hey, maybe I do have some influence here. Maybe I can protest, or I can write a letter, or I can call somebody. I can do something about this thing that's concerning me. Or maybe you might look at it and go, wow, that's a big concern. But I don't really have much in the way of influence to bring to bear here, so I think I'm just going to let that go. It's not helpful for me to be focused on it. This can suck a lot of energy, especially right now. Paying attention to the news, paying attention to stuff that's put in front of us all the time, especially on social media. A lot of it is outside even our influence, and it's definitely outside of our control. It would be great if we had the control, and if I could just kind of click this button that says coronavirus off. I'd love to have that button. That would be so great. Just there's the control, gone. But don't have it. So this can be a nice model to put things in and just to check in with yourself. It's like, okay, I'm getting all wrapped up in this stuff. This thing is taking my energy. I'm writing this long post on Facebook. I'm in this conversation. I see so many people in deep conversations with somebody who will not be budged, will not be convinced. There's two people kind of going at it, both with an opposite point of view, both talking, both wanting the other person to change their mind. It will never happen. And I look at all that thought and energy that's going into that. There is no influence happening here. It's not within your control. It's like, wow, what if the people involved in those kind of online spats actually took that energy and did something that actually had some influence or some control over? So something to pay attention to if you get drawn into those sorts of things. Might not be the best use of your time. Life feels better when you focus on the things you can control. That's been my experience. Pay attention to what level your business is at. This is a very quick kind of a shorthand way of ignoring things that that you don't need to focus on yet. If you're just starting in your business, if you're at a level 1 in your business and you're looking at level 3 kind of businesses to emulate, and you have a very, 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 very long list of things that you need to do with membership sites and courses and automation and email lists and funnels and onboarding systems and fancy CRM systems and hiring freelancers and spending a bunch of money on advertising, and you haven't even really gotten started, and you look at a long list of things that you need to learn, you can reduce that list down to next to nothing by recognizing that that's for a level 3 business, and you can put it all on hold until you're at about 10 grand a month. And at that point, you can pull that list out and it'll be relevant. If you're just starting your business, if you're below, say, $3,000, $3,500 a month, focus on developing the skills. Sales and marketing, need to be able to get clients, and that's what you focus on, learning how to get clients in a very focused way, and not with fancy online funnels and advertising and all that, but actually having conversations with people. But level 1, you're developing some skills and you're getting clients. The right now thing, you're getting information. It's market research, finding out whether people are going to buy what you have to sell, figuring out who those people are, figuring out how to talk to them, figuring out how to make an offer to them, figuring out how to work with clients and collect money. That's what you need to work on in level 1. Level 2, you can start looking at refining your messaging. Here you can focus on who your ideal clients are and what content goes on the website and how you're going to do your social media, creating a marketing calendar for your social media. You can do that at level 2 once you've figured out how to get clients first. But level 1, we're talking to our level 1 clients, it's like, okay, focus. Here's what you need to do. And this is the focus for our level 1 clients, is invite people to do an assessment with you, conduct the assessment, and make sales. Like, that's the progress that you want to track in terms of level 1. When you start looking at, I need to think about what my branding looks like, or I think I need to figure out how to do Facebook ads, you're not focused on this, inviting people to assessments, conducting the assessments, making sales. This is where the focus needs to be, is right here, not getting distracted into things that you're not ready for yet. Makes it a lot easier to make progress, because you can make progress on this really quickly if this is what you're focused on. If you spend 80% of your time finding people to get onto your calendar so you can have a conversation with them, you're going to get clients fairly quickly. That's what's happening with our clients. They're getting clients fairly quickly because they're focused on this. Because this is the stuff that actually moves the dial in terms of getting some results. And what you'll notice is when you look at this particular list of activities to track in terms of progress, is it maps up really, really nicely with these circles of control and influence and concern. That the first thing is what is within your control. It's 100% within your control to invite people to have a meeting with you. It's all within your control. It's a great thing to track, because whether or not you issue 100 invitations is up to you. There's no one else in that party. You make the invitation. That much you have the control over. In terms of the next layer out of influence, when you're conducting assessments, having people agree to have an assessment with you, having them show up in that call with you and participate in that, you have some influence. You're a party to that, but you're not 100% in control, because you can't control other people. So that person is showing up. You have a lot of influence in how you conduct that meeting. You can you can show up professionally. You can show up prepared. You can build rapport. You can make a really good connection with that person. You can listen. You can ask the right questions. You can run that meeting in a way that really showcases how awesome you are. That's your job. The other person's job is to show up and play with you to the level that they're willing to play. And whether or not they buy is in your area of concern, because you do want to make sales. But this is their decision to make, yay or nay. It's not within your control. You have some influence, but it's up to them. And when you look at your sales and marketing through this kind of lens, you might want to adjust how you set your goals. Because one of the things that is frustrating about setting goals is that we often focus on goals that are around X number of sales, X number of dollars. That's kind of typical business goal setting. Says I want to make X number of dollars a month. The problem with this is illustrated right on this slide, is that it's not directly within your control. It's just not. The middle part of the control, you can invite people. You have some influence over how you show up, but whether or not they buy is not within your control. So when you set your goals, set the goals based on the stuff you control. See, we figured that out. It rhymes. Set your goals based on control. So the goal becomes number of invitations that you issue. Because even just in terms of tracking, the number of sales that you're making isn't, it's great to have that as a guideline. It's great to pay attention to it. And don't get me wrong, you absolutely need to be paying attention to it. And when you pay attention to those three factors that we have here, the number of people that you have on your calendar, the number of assessments you've conducted, and the number of sales you've made, that information right there will give you a ton of information about how you're doing in your business. It's important to track all of those things. But when you set your goals, you want your goals to be around the actions that you have control over. How many people can you invite? Or how much time can you spend inviting people? The sales at the end is not always a true indicator of the progress that you're making, because every time you reach out and talk to people, every time you have a meeting with somebody, you're planting seeds. And so there's that planting seeds, and there's no way to track which of those seeds are germinating, really. It's kind of like you're planting them, and then they may pay off in the future. They will pay off in the future. You keep planting seeds, stuff's going to spring up, and it might be surprising, and it might show up in 6 months. It might show up in a year. But what you can control right now is what you're doing in terms of inviting people in. So when you set your goals, set goals that you can control. That way you can feel good about your progress, because you can say, yeah, I issued 1,000 invitations this month. Like, yay! Then you can look and see, okay, how many people booked onto my calendar? 0. Okay, I need to change something about how I'm inviting people. Or you might say, wow, look at that, my calendar is full. And look at that, I've got clients. Wow, this is working. How can I make it a little bit better? How can I do this where I only invite 500 people next week? Maybe I can be better at choosing who I invite and how I invite them. But so you want to track all of these things, but really focus on the stuff that you can control. And that, I think that covers what I was going to say. Do you want to talk, Georgie?
Well, I think it's really empowering when we do make that switch to actually focusing on the things that we can control, because then we do get, I think, less overwhelmed, less distracted, because it's often really smaller things. We can control how we show up. We can control our own physical self. We can control, like you say, sending out those invitations. So that list becomes a little bit smaller and less overwhelming, which I think is really one of the big things that you often see with, especially when we're just getting started in business, is that overwhelm of, there's so many things to do, I don't know what to do. And I think you're right. When we move down to sort of our level 1 business, a lot of that stuff comes off the list. I've got to build my website. I've got to do my social media ads. I've got to do build my funnels, all of those kinds of things. And actually you don't. It really is about, in the types of clients that we work with, it really is about issuing those invitations and making connections with people. And you can do that, yes, through social media for sure, but it's not through the ads. It's through real connections with people, planting those seeds, and then, eventually something will grow. Eventually you'll have that forest. You'll be like, what? That was amazing. But life becomes a lot easier when we focus on what we control. It's kind of like our relationships with people, right? We're so busy trying to change other people, which we cannot do. Where if we would just pull that focus back to what we can control, which is us and how we're showing up, life becomes a lot simpler and a lot easier when we do that. So it's one of those, something we don't do often, I think. Okay, let's see. We have some chats. Any other questions? What was the name of the book regarding the energy? Essentialism?
Essentialism was the one about the focusing and the energy. Great book. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was about the matrix, and I believe the zones of control is in there as well.
Do you have a form to help us track this information?
Do I? I do.
Our resource page is getting pretty awesome.
On the soon-to-be created resource page, in the short term, I'm going to pop my email address in here, and if you email me, I will send you a spreadsheet. If you'd like a spreadsheet for tracking stuff.
Can you give a couple more examples of assessments for meetings?
Can we give examples of assessments? Probably.
Well, I think the key thing about when we talk about assessments too is they're really used to help you get to understand the person in front of you, as well as build that bridge between their problem and what you do. And Patty might have more specific examples, but like when I think about our clients, there's a range of assessments that they use, but that's really kind of the key component of why we do assessments and how we create them. Oftentimes people think of it, oh, maybe it's like a personality assessment or this kind of thing, but it's not like that.
Yeah, gee, this all sounds very, very vague.
How about this? Perhaps we could have an example of a specific type of meeting that you're thinking of. Then we can give a specific example for that type of meeting. Would that be helpful?
That might be more helpful if we had a specific.
Yeah, because then we could make this more relevant to what you're looking for, as opposed to kind of just talking.
Yeah, conceptually, the idea of doing the assessment is a structured way to do a discovery call when you have a meeting with a client. And what you're wanting to uncover in the assessment is really whether or not they're a good fit for working with you, whether or not you can help them get what they're looking for out of life, out of your services, whatever it is that you offer. Is you're doing kind of an in-depth review of something in order to map up with your services. Like, for example, to give you an example, when Georgie and I do assessments with our potential clients, we're taking a look at how they're doing with marketing. So some of our assessment questions are around, how are you doing with sales conversations? Are you confident doing sales conversations? Are you getting results doing sales conversations? Do you know what to do? Do you have a script? Do you feel prepared? How's your marketing working out for you? Are you getting people onto your calendar? Are you having those conversations? Do you know what to say to people when you're reaching out to them? Those are the things that we're checking in, because that's what we help with. We help people reach out to bring people onto their calendar. We help them have a non-salesy assessment style conversation with people in order to offer them a service. So that's kind of how works. So that's for us. And what you assess and what you want to discover is relevant to your own business. So that's what we do, but our clients do other things, depending on what their services are. So,
yeah, it's very customized.
Yes, exactly.
Let me go up the box here for a second. I love the permission to break it down to the different levels. It takes the overwhelm away from having to do everything right away before launching my new venture. It definitely frees up much more time to direct my focus.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The other piece of it too is that those upper level activities are hard to impossible to actually implement until you've had a few clients and you kind of understand the lay of the land. Basically, it's like when you've had clients and when you made some money, those upper levels are way easier, like way easier. You kind of zip through them, whereas when you're just starting out, it's all mysterious. The questions are all mysterious. You don't know how to answer them. Who are my ideal clients? Haven't a clue. Anybody with money? That sounds good. You know, it's kind of like
exactly.
What do I say on my website? I don't know. I sell stuff. It's good.
Buy it.
Buy it. When do I run for an ad? I don't know. Buy now. Coaching for sale. You don't have the answers for that stuff, and it's frustrating. What do you need for a system? You don't know. How do you know which email management system is best for you? You don't know until you know what you want that system to do for you.
Exactly.
So yeah, they are distracting and they're interesting and they're exciting, and they're often packaged as you should do this now. But it's not true.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can be bombarded by people who tell you that you have to do these things, and that's true to a certain extent, depending on what level your business is at. And that is absolutely the next thing that you need to do. But for level 1, yeah, you can block that stuff out.
Adrian has an example. An example, sitting down with the director of a line of business to determine what their needs are if my area of support is developing productive relationships and to deal with conflict resolutions.
Exactly. So your assessment would be around what's going on in terms of conflict. How well is conflict being resolved or not resolved? It's a nice structured conversation to find out what they need and if they need you. Keeps it kind of loose that way.
It does, and it's a really authentic conversation because
Absolutely.
You're there to learn about them, they're there to learn about you, and it's not from that desperate space of I need a sale, I need a client. No, this is a two-way street here. Let me see if I can be of service to you. Can I help you? And are we a fit?
Exactly.
That's really what it's about, which I find also takes a lot of the pressure off. And then this marketing thing, sales thing can actually be quite fun.
It's fun and it's easy and it flows. And when you do a good job of structuring the assessment itself offers value to the person who's being assessed because you give them a tremendous amount of clarity about what they need to do and where they need to focus, whether they decide to work with you or not. It's still providing value. So you get to do sales and marketing in a way that actually uses your gifts and makes a difference for people. So,
exactly.
And it's way more fun. The conversations are way less pressured, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's totally about exploring and discovering different perspectives.
Absolutely. And you learn so much because you have a conversation, you ask questions, and people tell you.
Exactly. And it's refreshing, I think, on both sides. Like your potential client, future client, they're like, oh, wow, this kind of isn't like any sales call I've ever been in. It's a conversation, and it's fun.
And it's if you think about it, we were talking about in the storytelling thing about like having that bag of tricks, right? You got your magic wand and you got your potions and your formulas and stuff. You can walk into somebody's office with your bag and you can dump it out all over their desk. And you can say, there's a magic wand. Would you like to buy a magic wand? Would you like to buy this formula? Would you like to buy the elixir? You could go blah, 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 and try to promote all of the stuff that's in your bag. Or you can do an assessment and say, hey, I got a lot of stuff in the bag. Let's have a conversation about what you need. And then you have the conversation, you find out what's going on and what they're looking for and what their aches and pains are. And you go, you know what? I have an elixir that's perfect for that. And then you pull out the one elixir and they go, oh, that's exactly what I need. And you can say, oh, that's exactly what you need because you had that conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes it so much easier to be able to share the relevant solutions that you provide for their problems instead of kind of spitting everything out that you do and them glazing over and going, I don't even know what you're talking about. Would a strategy session be considered an assessment? Just different words to describe the same thing?
Depends on how you conduct it. So a strategy session tends to be more of a offering somebody a plan. It really, an assessment and a plan are kind of flip sides of the same thing. It's like you assess what's going on now, and then when you assess what's going on now, some things are going to rise up to the top as, okay, we need to work on these things. And then that becomes the strategy or the plan, is to work on the things that came out of the assessment. Now, if you go in with a pre-formatted strategy and say, you need to do all of these things, this is how it works, blah, 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 that's not an assessment so much as you just going in and giving people a strategy based on that's coming in with the bag of tricks, saying this is what you need the bag of tricks, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this, there's your strategy, versus an assessment is figuring out what they need and then prescriptively giving them the tricks you got.
Yeah. It's great to make that a conversation, not a manipulation, to try to fit, shame, control the prospect into submission.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
All of it. Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just that you don't need to do those things, it's that they're not necessary. When you take this approach, there's not really a place for those. They just don't fit into the chain of events.
Exactly.
Like the entire approach is different.
Yeah. Yeah, it changes how you show up. And for us, it's a more natural way of showing up, right? It's like that. You don't have to put on your salesperson suit. You just show up as you and have the conversation because it's built around, who you are and what works for you. And we were talking about this yesterday. Like we have clients who present their assessments in different ways, but it's really built on their personalities, which then makes it easier for people to see a fit and do I want to work with someone because your personality shows up. So it's not like you show up as someone else, they hire you, and then you're like, who is that person? Can we get that back? Because there's a disconnect. Like it's really, really built around you being you.
Yeah. And it's a demonstration of what you do. When you're in a transformational business, you're helping people move from point A to point B. I mean, but really, if you're selling transformation, you're selling them a new version of themselves, a better version of themselves, a better version of their business. That's really what it is all about. So this kind of an appointment is you're demonstrating coaching or consulting with them. You're sharing your expertise with them. You're actually doing the thing that you do within this framework. So it's like Georgie says, it's like you're not going in as salesman Sam and then showing up as Coach Georgie. It's not another personality. It's not another role even. It's just you're conducting these things very much the way you would coaching or consulting.
Exactly. Yeah, it's quite lovely, really quite lovely. Any other thoughts, questions on focus, control, assessments? Anything else you might want to know, share? The questions definitely don't have to be attached to the topic for sure. If anything else popped up that you're curious about or that you want to share, we have a few minutes. We might not actually go over time today. Woohoo! Little wins. Despite the Facebook, whatever you call that. bump. It's the Facebook speed bump that happens
Yeah.
occasionally as we do these things sometimes. But yeah. And if not, tomorrow we have a super exciting show. One of Patty's very, 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 very favorite things. Because it's all going to be really about developing your unique work and turning your expertise into these models and signature services. So I anticipate a lot of diagrams on tomorrow's slides for some reason. I don't know if that's true, but we'll see.
Maybe one or two.
What is your framework for an assessment?
Actually, tomorrow's topic actually relates to the assessments in a way, so that might be helpful. And actually, Georgie and I are planning to do a webinar basically explaining this whole system in a little bit more detail, of more about how it works. The framework, like the framework for the assessment, when thinking about like just structurally how an assessment looks, scaling questions of some sort, scale of 1 to 10, always, sometimes, never, open-ended kind of questions where you're able to ask kind of subjective things and have people rate themselves. There's always self-assessments, or mostly self-assessments, self-assess where they're at, visually, if possible. If you've ever looked at like something like a Wheel of Life, where you create pie charts in the assessment, that works well. We do stoplights, red, yellow, green, to draw stuff in. But what's really interesting is the creative kind of assessments that our clients come up with. There's no two alike. Everyone's got their own kind of spin on it, which is great. Ideally, it's visual. And for the other question about do you hand it to them and then take it back? No, you run through it individually with them as you go through it, and you ask the questions, because it's an opportunity for discussion. And a lot of things on the assessments are going to be things that they're going to have questions about. It's about, okay, what is it, because you're going to share with them, what does a 10 look like? What does a 1 look like? And there'll be some conversation around that. So you get additional information as you go through the assessment. They provide additional information, which is useful and helpful.
And tips related to group meetings versus my ideal one-on-ones for level 1s. The assessment can work in a group as well.
Yeah. Recommendation is to do it with one-on-ones first. And then when you know that you have a working model, you can bring it into a group.
Yeah. Oops, I'm scrolling. The idea of goals based on control is super helpful. It will definitely change the way I write my goals out and plan to achieve them from now on. Thank you. You're welcome. The scattered squirrel. Tons of different printable planner sheets. Woohoo! The name got me. I'm like, I like the name too.
Cool.
So cool. Yeah.
This is the thing about organizing stuff and finding a way that works for you. I I met somebody a few years ago that her filing system was based on chakras. Somebody else had a clothesline, like a clothesline running in their office with notes on a clothes peg. That was the to-do list. They went and just pulled something off the line. It's like whatever works for you. If it's Post-it notes on a wall, excellent. If it's one of those, David Allen Franklin Covey kind of day planners where you write things in 15-minute blocks, if that works for you, do it. But find something fun. If that's you, search for some planning systems. Take a look. Like, there's tons of them. Us weird, quirky, misfit kinds of people are a lot of us are active on the internet creating stuff. And a lot of us have organizational problems or challenges because we're creative and because we don't fit into the getting things done model. It doesn't work for us. They create a calendar and manage your time in 15-minute increments isn't a fit for a lot of people. So there a ton of creative and fun and colorful and interesting ideas around time management. So take a look and see what people are doing and look for some far out ideas. You might get a better a system that fits you. A bullet journal, yes, absolutely. Bullet journal. I know a few people who are doing really well with that. So there's lots of different options now. Find something that works.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is not fighting your personality and what works for you. You know, if you're super creative and trying to fit yourself into something that's tracking thing every 15 minutes in a really structured calendar thing, it may not work for you. And then often we feel like, oh, I suck, I just can't do this. And it's just not who you are. And there's so many options out there to find the one that works for you, or make your own, write it on a piece of paper, color it all up, whatever you need to do, you know, but it's really taking that position of being true to who you are.
Yeah, and evaluating stuff based on whether it works or not based on whether someone else thinks that your system is worthy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have some goofball systems that work just fine for me. Thank you very much.
Exactly. And it's perfectly okay to try something, go, yeah, that doesn't work, and pick something else.
Yeah.
Perfectly A-okay.
That could be another permission slip.
Yeah, check. It's all good. That's for sure. So, all right, 10:29. So
10:30.
10:30. Whoops. Okay, that's it. Goodbye. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But thank you guys for being here with us for another episode of our show. We will be back tomorrow with diagrams and models and all that good stuff. And Thursday, we've got Tyrell Mara, one of my favorite humans in the whole wide world. So bring your questions for him. Guaranteed to be inspiring, uplifting, and you will walk away with valuable information for sure. And Friday is all about how to have happy clients.
Woo!
Woohoo! And that will be another week. Woohoo! To add to the Netflix show. Okay.
Thank you for being here. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Bye.
Bye.